Hi everybody, welcome to Lost and Found Tarot channel. Today we're going to talk about the aces of the tarot deck. So as you know, if you have a deck, if you've been a long time reader or if it's your very first time learning how to read tarot, you do know that there's the major arcana and then there's the minor. So the minor are also known as the pips, and they can be a little bit daunting for people to learn about when they're getting started. And depending on the type of deck you're using, if it isn't super heavy on the visual symbolism, then it's even more so a little bit tricky to kind of pick up. So I'm just going to do a little series, hopefully not too long, because I know other people have gone over this topic so many times. I'm just going to present it in maybe a different way that might offer you more information or a slightly different variation of some of the meanings for the aces. So let's jump into it. So as you know, the aces represent a starting point of each suit. Each suit we have wands, cups, swords, and pentacles, and all of these symbolize the new beginnings, potential, and opportunities related to those suits. They can also signify that strong sense of self, deep inner knowing, and the ability to create and manifest your dreams and desires. The aces represent the purest form of each element. So the ace of wands is the purest form of fire. The ace of cups is the purest form of water. The ace of swords is the purest form of air. And the ace of pentacles is the purest form of earth. So here I'm showing you the tree of life. And if you connect your practice in tarot to Kabbalah in any way, you will be very familiar with this. And I know it looks kind of intimidating. There's a lot of information in front of you. This is just a view of the overall tree of life, and it's a central concept in Kabbalah, which is a form of Jewish mysticism that originated in the 12th century. And it's a symbolic representation of the divine flow of energy and spiritual understanding, and each of the 10 points representing a different aspect of the universe. And the tree is composed of 3 columns, each column representing a different realm. So on the left, we have the realm of the terrestrial. The right is the realm of the spiritual, and the central column is the realm of the divine. And I'm not an expert by any means. So take all of this with a big grain of salt. Each point on the tree is connected by pathways, as you see. Those are known as Sephiroth, and they're said to be symbolic of the interconnectedness of all things. And the one we're primarily concerned with today is Keter, crown. And that's kind of the top of the tree of life, or bottom, however you look at it, actually. But Keter aces correspond to those. So aces in popular culture are they represent excellence and power. And as we're going to go through all of these aces through like in the different suits, we're going to kind of see how each of those kind of relate to how those beginnings and the power and the excellence relate to each of the elements. So we've got in front of us starting with the Ace of Wands. And I'm not really going to read this word for word, because if you've ever sat through a presentation, that's absolutely the worst thing. But you will be able to kind of pause. The purpose of having this information like this is that you could kind of pause the video, skip through. I should have chapters in this video to kind of like take you to each one. That way you can kind of reference it if you ever get stuck, or you're like, looking, maybe your intuition isn't really working for you that day and you're kind of relying on more of the card meanings in the traditional sense. So then you can come back to this and be like, oh, that's what that might mean, right? So when we're talking about the Ace of Wands, we've got that creative power of fire. So wands are the doers, absolutely. So this is where we're kind of we've taken all our thoughts and plans and ideals and whatnot. Now we're actually going to do something about them. So this is a fantastic card to come up for any of your pursuits. You know what? I just love it when the Ace of Wands comes on the table, because it means things are ready to go. And for me, like sometimes I'm a good idea person. I'm not a good person to do things that I say I'm going to do. So this one really kind of shows me when it comes up that I'm ready to actually do something. Inversely, so when we get a card that's reversed on the table, and if you don't read reversals, you can totally skip this, because this meaning will come to you in your own way, in your own practice. But if you do read reversals, as I do, it gives me a different stream of information when it comes up reversed. So usually, you kind of have to look at the cards around this one when it comes up to really know what it's trying to say. In, career, love, and relationships, how it feels, all of that's kind of laid out along the side here. And that's just all of this information. I also want to caveat, this is just my private practice. So this is stuff that has come up in readings as it relates to this card. So this is not textbook, so to speak. It's not something that can always be relied upon, because each of our practices, we have our own kind of relationship with tarot. In this, I'm just showing you kind of how it's come through for me. And if it happens to work for you, if this happens to provide you with cues to help you understand what tarot's trying to tell you, perfect. That is exactly what I'm hoping to do with this, is just give you kind of more tools and more resources to have at your disposal when you're also giving readings or trying to interpret things. So Ace of Swords, also a really great card. You know what? There's no downside to having an ace on the table unless it's reverse, and as we'll see in a minute, sometimes it's not so super. But right now, like, the most important thing you can remember about Ace of Swords is there will be clarity of thought. That is, no matter what the subject at hand is, there will be a view of it suddenly that is sharp and crystal clear. So if you were struggling with a concept, or one of your clients was struggling with an issue, not really knowing which way to go prior to this, and this comes up as like a present or an outcome or a near future type of card position, this is a great way to show that you will be seeing the answer very soon. On the other hand, so this is one of the clear no cards as well, and that is taken from all kinds of I guess, authorities on the subject, or kind of scholars, people who've come before us who've spent a lot of time with tarot and have some common experience with this one. This one usually comes up to definitely say, like, maybe the best course of action is to not jump in and just start trying to fight your way through it. Maybe just hang back and wait. This one has a lot of potential to come through as a warning. And you'll see that if it comes up with certain reverse knights, certain reversed kings, it's you might want to be careful in how you read this one, depending on the topic, depending on who's in front of you getting the reading. When you don't know the person really well and you don't really know their situation, just be careful if that is the case and those cards come up together. You're going to want to ask gentle questions and try not to probe too far if it starts to feel like maybe they're not going to take the message as well. Because again, you and I as readers, we know that information is going to flow through tarot. It is what we need to know, and the cards are absolutely right when they come on the table, but our clients don't always know that. They haven't spent the time to develop in this space, or to truly kind of understand some of the aspects of it. It can be very frustrating when you go to a reader expecting one thing, but you have a misconception that causes it to maybe not be the experience that you expected. It's not the reader's fault, but as a reader, you do have to be careful, because you probably have a reputation to protect, and you probably want what's best for your client, no matter who they are. But with this Ace of Swords, if it comes up on the table for your client and it's not really clearly something else, like maybe they've had surgery or had any of the regular type of, I guess, mundane meanings, then just be careful. That's all I have to say about that one. Ace of Cups, fantastic. This one, it's really one of the more simple ones in a nice way, because it's just that abundance. Like, you can just feel this one. And when you're under the influence of this card, haha, no pun intended. But if this is like the card of the day for you, or it covers a certain period of time, this is really nice, because aces are temporary, but they're powerful, meaning that for this space of time, you can just relax into it and just feel it. And there is no better place to be sometimes than just with the Ace of Cups, because it feels so good. So enjoy it while it lasts. Ace of Cups reversed, however, has a different take, obviously. And in front of you, again, some of these might apply. Maybe you've seen them before. Maybe some of them resonate with you. But these are the ones that typically come up in my practice. And what it signifies typically is someone who doesn't have time to really devote to the things that they care about. Like visually, we can see, even though the water does appear to keep flowing, you're not really feeling the renewal. You're not feeling like you have enough time or energy to really do what you love, and you might feel even closed off to things. And again, this passes fairly quickly. It's not a long lasting energy, the aces. So good advice for this if this is applying to you and it's not another meaning, if you're just feeling like blah, get a massage, have a bath, clean your house. If you smoke cleanse or sound cleanse, maybe run that through your space just to kind of refresh it, because that's what this card's calling for. Its prescription is some self-care and to clear your space, get things in order. Even if it feels like your world's falling apart, just take a few minutes while you're with this card to try and do something for yourself. Ace of Pentacles is it's awesome. I don't think I've ever been unhappy to see this card come up in this context, right? Depending on the type of reading you're doing, it might not be great, but that's because you're using it for something else. But when it comes up, whether it's for if it's fantastic for career, it's great for love and relationships. Be careful though, because even though it can often mean engagement, I would not say the E word in front of someone who seems like they might want that, because that could cause trouble for that relationship. I would only bring it up if they said something that confirmed that, for example. So Ace of Pentacles, it's also quite simple. The meanings along the side, like you might be getting something. It's maybe someone's going to give you some money. That's fantastic. A gift of some kind. Just an all around great card. Flipped over, it's actually still not that bad. I know typically intuitively, you would think it makes sense that if a card has a positive meaning upright, you flip it over, it will have a negative meaning. That's not always the case. In fact, there's so much out there on reversals and what they mean and what happens. Most of it's going to, at the end of the day, come down to how you perceive it, more so than what anyone has to say or tell you about it. So aces, or any reverse card, often doesn't mean the opposite. So it doesn't mean that something's going to be taken away from you. Although sometimes it might mean that there's a payment late, something coming to you, but it's taking a little longer than you wanted it to. It can also be things coming up that were kind of buried. That's part of the cool imagery of the card. So there's still an aspect of that reward. It's just slightly obscured somehow. So either it's yet to come, or you got to go find it, or there's something that has to be done before you get to that point. So that's the aces, and I can't believe it still took me 14 minutes to talk to you about something that is pretty simple. But hopefully what you can do is, next time you need to know or you want to reference this at any point, come back to this and have a look at it. You can click through the different chapters to see what's there, but and just to reinforce, I noticed that up at the top in the card combos, there's a comment around a pregnancy coming to term. I just want you to know, if you are charging people money for readings, you must be very careful to not bring up the concept of health issues, or present those in some way that could cross ethical lines. So when I say that in a reading, this appearing with the 9 or 10 of wands may mean that there is a pregnancy going to term, that is for your information only. That's just information to have if it applies to you. When you're self-reading, it's one thing. You can interpret something however you want to. But when someone comes to you for advice and help and you're giving things that could be perceived as medical, legal, anything like that, that's a no-go. So just to underline that concept really well, like what I say here is not medical advice. This is just an observation. And it should also just be an observation for you, a reader, as well, when you're facing somebody who you don't know really well. So, all that being said, I hope this was really helpful, and I look forward to kind of moving through the rest of the cards, in sequence and giving you more information to work with. So, until then, take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.